few days ago, I posted about how I had experienced a pretty significant trauma trigger, and it had kind of derailed me for a few days, and I had continued to struggle for the last couple of days since posting that video as well. But I'm in a better place now. I've had 2 therapy sessions on this topic, and I just kind of wanted to share what helped me in case it'll help somebody else. Nutshell, I was triggered and I had a strong fawn response, which is kind of often my default. But I was really bothered by the fact that I fawned, and I knew that I was experiencing a lot of shame for fawning, and I knew that shaming myself for that response was only compounding my pain and isn't helpful for healing. I have seen over and over again in the time that I've been doing therapy that the more self-compassion I can experience, the more patient and loving I can be with myself, the more rapidly I heal. So I knew it wasn't the right thing to do to be shaming myself, and I couldn't seem to get out of that loop. So some of the highlights of what has helped me. So in my first session on this was, I brought it up in couples therapy. Our couples therapist's response was to look at it through a parts lens. And so he suggested that this response that I had, that I was in a young part, and that explained why I have access to my more adult feeling coping methods of advocating for myself, because the kid version of me was only felt like I was allowed to prioritize other people, and so I wasn't I was such a chronic people pleaser as a kid, that what I want just wasn't part of the equation. And so I kind of slipped into that child headspace, and because of the trigger. And so that helped me a little bit too, because I was kind of going why did I respond that way, and with the I feeling me today. And of course it was me today, it was adult me, and at the same time I understood his larger point that when we experience a big trigger, we go back to the coping methods that we've always had. And so if you have all of this experience with fawning in childhood, and that's how you stay safe, that's what your brain is going to default to in your 30s as well. That's kid me, and that helped me gain a little bit of self-compassion. I talked to my husband and kind of came to the realization, and he had been trying to get me to see this, but for some reason it took a while for me to be able to really get it to sink in, was that I was seeing it as I completely failed to protect myself, and that I basically have no protective instincts, because I did not protect myself the way that I wanted to protect myself. And I think on one hand it's valid to say I wanted to protect myself in a different way, and the way I would have preferred to protect myself didn't feel even accessible. It didn't even occur to me that was an option in that moment, and that's really frustrating for me. And at the same time, that does not necessarily mean that I didn't protect myself at all. And specifically, the person who came to the door, they wanted me to leave with them right then, and I never considered for a second actually going with them. I just also didn't say, no, I don't want to. And so basically saying maybe some other time or whatever, that feels dishonest to me, because I knew I didn't want to go later. I just also didn't feel I could just outright say no. Somehow it clicked for me that those two things together, my inner child, and I did protect myself, because as a kid I didn't feel I could ever just say no. that would have been like seen as backtalk and disrespectful and just bad, right? And my discomfort as a kid didn't matter. Like, all that mattered was not upsetting adults and not and like kind of being compliant. And so while it's, I guess, somewhat manipulative and dishonest, something like maybe some other time is the kind of the closest I could say to no as a kid. And yet it's not saying yes. And so it makes sense that that's kind of what I did in this situation when my trauma brain / kid brain was activated, because that is the only way that I could say no as a kid. But that is a really, really soft no. But yeah, I felt better once I realized that I was seeing it as I didn't defend myself at all, or I didn't protect myself at all. And that wasn't really true, because I was never going to go anywhere with this person. And then today with my individual therapist, part of what we talked about was some of the ways that I have already been practicing things in therapy and totally plan to continue to practice things in therapy that kind of go against those fawning instincts. Kind of just to remind myself, like, I am doing work in this specific area. It's not every day that I like have these situations where I am made uncomfortable and need to defend myself, of course. But I have a long history of, even in much more subtle situations, of not sharing how I really feel about things, even if somebody makes me like a little bit uncomfortable, or I think something happened that is wrong. Like, I haven't said anything, I'm just like acted like I thought everything was okay. And there have been instances lately being like the last few months, where I shared a little bit on it pretty vaguely, but like something that happened at a family function that I thought was inappropriate. Somebody made a comment about a baby, and nobody really said anything in the moment. I kind of froze, but like later I like texted the baby's mom. I was like, I'm so sorry that was like said about your baby. I felt uncomfortable with that being said. I kind of froze and didn't really know what to say, but I just wanted you to know that I thought that was wrong. So like, if you were upset that was said about your baby, like, I'm on your side and whatever. And that type of a thing isn't something that I would have done in the past. Like, I just would have felt like, oh, I can't make drama and I can't cause problems, and like other people being rude or inappropriate. If I commented on it, I would feel like that was me causing the problem, rather than the person who did the inappropriate thing being the actual problem. I also have been working to find little moments with people who are like safe people to me, to be a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more honest about my experiences. Like, not that I have like a history of lying, because I don't, but I wouldn't get vulnerable. I wouldn't share my beliefs or my feelings and my values with people. I would kind of keep things surface level with a whole lot of people, including people who I think I am safe to actually open up to more. And so I have found little areas here and there where I have gotten more vulnerable and have opened up more to people, and that is also using my voice and is kind of owning my truth and not just making everything about other people. So just reminding myself that I am working on people pleasing and on fawning. It's just a lot of baby steps.